Today I am going to ramble about a compelling argument for religious belief. At first I found this argument very convincing, but after writing this script, I think I may have changed my mind. Sometimes we engage in our best reasoning while furiously and incoherently writing on Word late at night. Anyway, time to get into things. Pascal's wager is one of the most interesting and convincing arguments for religious belief. In its most simple terms, the wager posits that people have little to win from atheism, but a lot to lose. They cannot get into heaven, and they could end up in hell if God happens to be real. Religious people have everything to win, and comparatively little to lose. They are safe from hell, and can get into heaven. Therefore, it is rational to believe in God because the stakes involved mean that belief has significantly greater rewards and significantly fewer risks. It is a gamble with more rewards and less risks, so it just makes sense to make. A rational actor will believe in God because in doing so, they lower their chances of going to hell and increase their chances of going to heaven. This is obviously the most appealing side of the gamble, and any rational actor will be inclined to make it. Or will they? Is this really a rational reason to believe in God? Well, that's the question we're going to address today. What if a great unicorn exists? We cannot know that there is not some great godly unicorn. We cannot prove this unicorn is non-existent. This great unicorn is in many ways similar to that which we call God. It will, however, send you straight to its own version of hell if you refer to it as God or worship and pray to it in any way. If you live the life of anyone other than a highly secular atheist, it will send you straight to its version of hell. Its version of hell makes the Christian conception of hell look like a theme park. This hell features a fourth dimension of pain. A pain so great that it is inconceivable and unknowable to all creatures that have not been subject to it. A pain so great that those who have experienced it are said to fear no other pain. A pain beyond our comprehension. This is the fate of those who refuse to follow the unicorn. This is the fate that those who refuse to follow the unicorn risk. On the other side of things, the unicorn offers its own version of heaven. This heaven similarly features a fourth dimension of pleasure. A pleasure so great that none can comprehend it. A pleasure so great that it is absolutely incomparable in its desirability to anything on this foul earth. By disobeying the unicorn, you stand to lose so much more than you would by disobeying God. Significantly greater pains and pleasures are on the table. Why not take the gamble and go with the unicorn, considering how much greater both the rewards and punishments are? Why not take the gamble and believe in the unicorn and its teachings, without ever actually engaging in worship of it, praying to it, or referring to it as God? What do you think of this response? It seems absurd and ridiculous. The religious can of course turn around and create their own version with a fifth dimension of pain and pleasure. Things quickly deteriorate into complete and utter absurdity. But what are we to make of that absurdity, if anything at all? I will leave you to decide. If we should believe in God because we stand to win more than we may lose, then surely the unicorn can take his place if it raises the stakes. There is literally no way of proving that God is any more or less likely to exist than the great unicorn. There is literally no way of proving that the stakes are higher with God than the giant unicorn. This is all just very foolish and absurd speculation that can go on forever and lead to almost any conclusion. There is a God who loves atheists and will privilege them and punish non-atheists. This cannot be proven to be any more or less likely than the opposite God. There is literally no way of proving that God punishes those who don't believe in him rather than those who do. Pascal's wager is based on the assumption that God punishes non-believers and privileges believers. But we cannot know this. Who says that God doesn't punish believers and send non-believers to heaven? There is no way this can be proven or disproven. There is no way we can prove one is any more likely than the other. They are both options, and together they make the wager absurd. It relies on speculation and can arrive at basically any conclusion without difficulty. The wager relies on the assumption that God punishes non-believers and privileges believers. There is no good reason to believe this. For all we know, it could well be the other way around. This possibility and the completely unknowable nature of the facts at hand immediately dismisses Pascal's wager as an intelligent and interesting, but ultimately unconvincing and irrational case for religion. Some may try to apply human reason to God. But why would God punish believers? God is God. He is beyond your human reason and understanding. Who says what he does has to make any sense to you? This is God we are talking about. It seems incredibly arrogant and foolish to think your puny mind could have any chance of ascertaining God's divine motivations. This is something that cannot be gambled on because none of the facts of likelihood can be known. There is no way of knowing if God is more likely to punish believers or non-believers. These things cannot be known, meaning an educated, rational gamble cannot be made. This dismisses the foundational idea of the wager. There is no rationality to be found here whatsoever. Everything is pure speculation, typically of an irrational, arrogant, and ideologically convenient kind. Pascal's wager is interesting but flawed reasoning, for two simple reasons. Firstly, we can invent infinite deities that beat out others in the wager, as can be seen with the unicorn example. We can do this because all of this relies on complete speculation, so basically no idea can be proven to be any more or less likely than any other. This makes the wager highly absurd. Secondly, the wager relies on the assumption that God punishes non-believers and privileges believers. When speculating about a God, there is no rational reason to believe that this is the case. It is just as probable that the exact opposite is true, which reverses the wager. We can try to apply our rationality to God and ask why God would punish believers. The very idea that we can understand God's thought processes through reasoning with our own puny minds is laughable. We have no way of knowing who God does and does not punish in the afterlife, assuming he does exist. Any attempt to understand this will be arrogant and ideologically convenient speculation. Pascal's wager has flaws and is not a good argument for religious belief. It relies on pure speculation with no hint of rationality anywhere to be seen. Perhaps I have missed something here. Perhaps I am wrong. But I think I have made some decent counterpoints, and I look forward to seeing if anyone has the urge to respond to any of them.